Is that working okay? Now it is. Okay. I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the New Canaan Board of Education for Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. We'll begin by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First, we need to review and approve the agenda for tonight. Can I get a motion to review the agenda? Josh, second. Hugo, all in favor? It's unanimous, thank you. And we need to approve our minutes from our last meeting on June 15th, 2026. Can I get a motion to approve those meetings? Raquel, second. Matt, all in favor? Unanimous again. Comments from the public. To ensure the public's right to be heard, the board has set aside time during the meeting for public comments. 2 minutes will be allotted to each speaker and a maximum of 15 minutes to each subject. While the board does not engage in public dialogue or respond to public comment during the meeting, all input is valued and considered. Is there anyone who'd like to approach the board? If you don't mind, please just state your names and addresses.
Good evening. My name is Ann Empson, and my address is 279 West Road.
And good evening. My name is Juliana Holterhouse, and my address is 257 Wahackney Road. So a few months ago, we sat before you to discuss how to make technology use more intentional in our schools. As you know, we launched the intended to be very collaborative Student Digital Wellness Initiative, which has over 150 signatures of New Canaan parents who support this cause. While we understand that policy change can take time, we hope to collaborate with you to establish short and long-term goals. We definitely feel a real sense of urgency with all of this. There are 14 states and over 50 districts that have already passed or proposed different laws and limitations around screen time in classroom networks.
And today we ask you to please implement our short-term goals. We've made a list. Our short-term priorities to hopefully be considered and implemented before kind of the start of school would be to establish a committee or working group to facilitate student digital wellness, to measure screen time usage across iPads, Chromebooks, and smart boards across all grade levels, to eliminate the use of smart boards, iPads, computers, and screens during indoor recess, lunch, snack, transition times, or any special class other than ICT class, to eliminate the use of screens for physical education, no video-supported movement activities in gym class, to block social media and video streaming platforms on all school networks and devices, and to eliminate all iPad use in grades K through 2 outside of the dedicated ICT class. We respectfully request that these changes be made before the start of school. We're at your disposal for any support you may need in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Seeing that, we're going to move on to reports and recognition. And first up is a phone-free schools update from Melinda Meyer, Bill Egan, and Kristen Kleiss. Or maybe just Bill and Melinda.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share an update on our district-wide phone-free schools initiative. This is just one component of our broader approach to digital wellness across New Canaan Public Schools. Tonight, I am joined by high school principal Bill Egan, and unfortunately, Dr. Kristen Kleiss is unable to make it, but she has contributed, so we'll talk about some of the SACS approach. She's the Dean of Students for SACS Middle School. I also like to recognize our SACS Middle School administrators who are here and with us this evening and have been vital partners throughout the work. Although tonight's presentation focuses specifically on phones, we recognize that student technology use extends beyond just phones. Our broader approach considers how technology is used across grade levels to support learning and engagement. Our shift towards a phone-free environment stems from a priority to create spaces where students can be fully present with their learning, develop authentic face-to-face connections, and develop healthy digital habits. This is directly connected to our 2025-2026 district goals. Tonight, we'd like to update you on our progress share what we have learned through the implementation stages, and also discuss how those lessons continue to inform our next steps. Across the district, our phone-free approach looks a little different at each grade level. Our elementary schools are already phone-free, including smartwatches. At Sachs Middle School, we're now entering the 3rd year of implementation with Yonder pouches. And over that time, the school has continued to refine its routines, expectations, and opportunities to learn from the experiences of both the students and the teachers. At New Canaan High School, the transition has been intentionally phased. The school began with classroom phone caddies, moved to an off and away expectation in January of this year, and will begin a full bell-to-bell model using Yonder pouches this fall. For many of our high school students and their families, the Yonder system will already be familiar from the students' experiences at Sachs, providing some continuity between the schools. And to prepare for this next steps, last spring we hosted listening sessions with students, faculty, and parents, gathering feedback in order to respond in the moment to the questions they have as we transitioned from off and away to the bell-to-bell, and then directly refine it to the next phase of our implementation. And with that, I'd like to invite Principal Bill Egan to share more about the high school's phased approach and how those experiences have shaped the transition to a bell-to-bell Yonder model for the fall.
Thank you, Melinda. First of all, a big thank you to all of you. It's always a pleasure to speak before the board. Student wellness is really at the center and the heart of everything that we do here at the high school. But our Phone-Free Schools initiative really had a few things that we wanted to accomplish. Number 1, eliminate digital distractions. Number 2, improve socialization. And 3, continue to try and protect academic integrity at all times. So a couple things. We started out with our classroom caddy that Melinda talked about before. We were pretty early on in trying to get phones, distractions out of the classroom. We started with the phone caddies right after COVID, and we made sure that our classrooms were protected spaces that teachers could teach and students could learn. We stayed that way till really middle of last year when we went to our off and away policy. You know, the good news with the classroom caddies is they were protecting the classroom space, but they didn't protect anything outside of that. So last year when we took a deeper look, we wanted to really kind of see what kids were doing when they left the classroom. As soon as they walked out of the classroom, they had the phones in their hands. They weren't talking to each other. They were on Instagram. They were on whatever social media they could be on. And they just kind of maneuvered around the school, but they weren't really connecting with each other. For any of you, and it'll come up later, but if you heard our speeches at graduation, there were a couple of speeches that directly referred to this policy this year. So then we transitioned to phase 2, which was off and away. The idea in practice is supposed to be the phones were turned off and put in their book bags. In reality, that was a very difficult thing to make sure it happened. It's okay, Dr. Letzi, you can have your water. There were a couple of exceptions that we allowed in the beginning at the beginning of the policy. One was the library and the other was the cafeteria. We wanted to give kids, instead of going cold turkey, to have a couple spaces where they could still use their phone. What that did is it enabled some phone use at other times as well. There were some good things that came from off and away. They definitely socialized more. You heard the kids talk about that. You know, the negatives were that kids would still have access to their phones, and in some cases, and what we heard over and over again in our community conversations was academic integrity became an issue. Every constituent group that we talked to said, hey, when the phones were in the caddies, we knew the phones were in the caddies. Now, if they're in their bags, yeah, they're supposed to be off, but they're in their bags and the kids have access to them. They're right there. So sometimes kids would take them out. Sometimes students would mirror and, you know, mirror their phone. For any of you guys who are techies, would mirror their phones to their computers, and they'd be, you know, using their laptop as whatever's on their phone was on their laptop. So that was a real challenge for us. We were like, how do we deal with that as we move forward? Now, the win, again, as I said, was that socialization improved, but academic integrity, you know, again, we have amazing kids, and it's not to say things are rampant and all that. I don't want to harp on that too much, but but ultimately that became a conversation point for every stakeholder group when we met with people in their community conversations. So that brings us to our fully phone-free campus. Now, the middle school's been doing Yonder for years, so great. You transition from the middle school to high school, it seems like a great thing. However, we have somewhat of an upgrade here that we're going to be giving to everybody. If I can, I'd like to do a little bit of an example. Can we do a little show and tell? Is everybody all right with that? Mr. Gusich, can you help me? So I'm going to show you first the middle school model. This is what they have at the middle school, which is great and it serves its purpose. Want to put your phone in there?
Just turning my ringer up, Mr. Egan.
I'm gonna walk toward the board so you guys can hear this in full effect. So this is the middle school model. I won't be frightening. You hear? So the phone works basically, and it's a distraction provided if kids, knowing high school kids, if they have the ability to make a phone call or receive a phone call, you would hear buzzing or texting or calling all day long. Again, great kids, they're amazing. However, the middle school model does this. We have moved into a different model, which our high school students will now be able to use. He brought turf before. All right, Dave. Want to give it a call? Are you calling?
It's trying.
So, interestingly, this will not ring. Oh. So it won't ring, and the other end effect that it will do is it will drain students' batteries if they keep them in here. Sweet. What did you say?
Just got to remember to shut the ringer off. Thank you.
Exactly. A couple of factors or pieces about this. It's got upgraded technology in it, different from the middle school in the sense that it will have signal blocking technology in there. So they won't be able to mirror. They won't be able to connect from their phone to their computers at all. And it's got a built-in Wi-Fi protection, so you wouldn't be able to connect to any Wi-Fi at all. So all good things by transitioning to our Yonder system.
Bill, can I add just a little bit more information about that?
Please do.
Just to share with the board that there are very few districts, if any, in the U.S. that are using the Faraday pouches at this point, but they are much more popular in Europe. This is what they're using. So I to say thank you to the company that we reached out, specifically asked questions about being able to block the signal and have that full functionality, not just for the noise, which you demonstrated quite well, but the also for the screen mirroring and the other things that we know students could be inclined to try. So they worked with us, partnered with us. We do have to, it'll take a little bit to get them here, but for a reasonable cost, they're willing to allow us to be one of the first districts in the country to use these Faraday pouches.
And this will give kids a full chance while they're in the building to be off of technology and be present in everything that they're doing here at the school. So we really view this as an amazing thing for us. So how does it work? In theory, when they get here, we do know we have some kids early, but we're going to say bell to bell. But when they get here, they can put their phone in their pouches, they can lock up, and during the day, their phones are off, they're in their pouches, and when they leave, there'll be spots all over the building that they can unlock and then be able to use their phone when they leave, whether it be for off-campus or at the end of the day. They'll be all over the building. This is not an accurate map, but just to show you that there are going to be spaces all over the building that they will be able to unlock from or lock when they come in. Although during the day, there's only one spot that's open, and it's the front door. Everywhere else is locked. Communication. Some people are always concerned about communicating with their child. We're encouraging, and we're going to have to relearn how to use email. So we're asking families to communicate via email if they need to get their child during the day. And if it's an emergency ever, call the office. We will make sure their child is available for them. But we want to make sure that students and families can communicate. And part of that's, how we do communicate. We need to change that a little bit from an old-fashioned texting model to this. What it will create for us is hopefully a higher academic focus, that everybody can truly be focused on the learning at hand in the classroom and not be thinking about what's next socially. It'll build better social interactions, and we'll have a even more connected, focused, and present community. Again, I've said it all the time, I think our school is the best high school in the state, but this is just another advancement in student wellness here at the high school. Back to Dr. Kleiss, Melinda Meyer.
In year 3 of SACS, we have shifted our conversations more towards how to support our students in the face-to-face interactions and conversations that they're having when we have that space that the phone has left. We also we're so excited that we have been supporting our students in the research and the conversations they want to have in leading events in SACS, such as their digital free schools or tech free school week that they had. So it was a great success last March, and they're looking to expand upon that. And we're also looking to continue to refine the expectations of some of the policies that we have at SACS based on input from our students and our teachers as we continue to go year to year.
I did see it, sorry. I told you to use that, and I did it.
I'd like to close with words from one of our graduate that they shared during this year's graduation reflections. His observation captures something that policies and implementations don't always convey, what the change actually felt like for our students. And it required adjustment, but it also created the opportunities for students to look up, engage with one another, and experience their school differently. So thank you, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Melinda. Bill, any questions for these guys? Kate?
Hey, thank you so much for this. I just have a couple questions. Because these high school pouches are new and different from the SACS ones, is there a plan to sort of upgrade the SACS ones as they become more readily available, or is that a hope, or?
I can speak to that. Yes, there is a plan to do that. We'll look into next year's budget. They are a little bit more expensive,
Yeah.
right? So as we, now that we have a pretty clear understanding of the replacement costs and other things over at SACS going to year 3, we'll build that into the budget for 27-28.
And then another question, I know this isn't news to the students because you've had so many thoughtful meetings around the process, but how is this information going to officially be disseminated to the students?
An email will be going out tomorrow morning to students, parents, and staff as well.
Great, thank you.
Wanted to make sure that you guys knew first.
Just say
So
not it.
that was the conversation.
That's smart, Bill.
I've learned, took 11 or so years, but yeah.
Anyone else? Josh?
This may be a naive question for kids, for those of you with older kids, but how are you handling smartwatches? They go in the pouch too, same deal?
All technology will go into the pouch, and it's the same exact deal.
Okay. And are there any challenges you foresee with this in terms of either implementation or interacting with the curriculum, anything like that?
Yes.
Thinking about?
I think there's always challenges. Adolescents
Yeah.
are a unique group, right? So I think there are certainly some students who try and bend or negotiate, but we'll have to do like classroom checks and things like that to make sure that students are abiding by our pouches and communicating with home.
Okay, thank you.
Erica?
Thank you guys for the presentation. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the teachers and how we might be expecting them to change in the way that they are approaching students with phones. And we've asked a lot of them and our students, going from, putting them in the caddy, then putting them in your bag. Now it's going to be in the yonder pouch in your bag, but like how teachers are going to do any sort of enforcement that is necessary. And also building off of Kate's question, like how we're going to bring the students along on yet a continued transition of our expectations around their phones not being available on their person.
I would say, for us, this is in part why we didn't transition to something immediately last year, that we gave our teachers time to not only understand that there were some changes that were coming, but also how this would help transition, because there have been times where we've used the phones within the classroom for whether it be taking pictures of homework and uploading it to Schoology, or specific classes like the visual and performing arts, they've used their phones as cameras, then kind of uploaded the projects. So we took the time to get a better needs assessment of what we needed to make sure that we don't have the phones in use. But that being said, there'll be some time that we'll have to work with everybody to make sure that they are not out there.
And is it fair that a student does not need their phone while they are on campus? Like, would that be, I know that's not the case for most students, but would there be ever a need for a student to have a phone on campus?
From an academic purpose, no. They would not need one.
Great.
Anyone else? Raquel?
Thank you both so much. Quick question just about the interaction between computers and phones. Obviously, the kids are bringing their own devices, I believe, in the high school.
They do.
And so I can effectively do everything on my computer that I can do on my phone. Is that something you guys are concerned about, or is the underlying goal really to help kind of create that culture within the hallways? Like, what is the underlying premise, and how does that interact between the phone and the computer? Does that make sense?
I think number one, for me, the social piece was a big piece in the hallways. Academically, we certainly have been concerned about that. That's why the Faraday pouches are really a big step forward for us. Teachers certainly still need to monitor things, and there's things that we're going to work with them on, how to make sure that they're doing that. A little bit harder, I would say, with a bring your own device versus a totally school managed piece. But we've been working with this for years.
I think I would just add to that it's one of the reasons why as we do an initiative like this, the initiative isn't the point, right? The point is student wellness. When we did our school start times, or changed our schedules, or we're doing this, it's all in service to a larger goal. So this isn't the next step. We celebrate the wins, but we don't stop there, right? So this is the next step in that work, and there will be other steps along the way. We know that as we continue. But it's also true that they can, but often they're much less likely to be scrolling Instagram or something else on their laptops, because those screens are much less personal. Part of what we want to get away from is that the false sense of security that people get when they're looking at a small screen. They forget that the world can see what they do and what they post, right? So part of it is it's healthy digital habits, it's building the sense of community, and it's the next step, but certainly we're going to keep taking steps.
I'll also add that for the last couple of years, we've tried to transition to where teachers have really total autonomy in their classroom, in the sense of, all right, we're going to handwrite this. We're going to write on a piece of paper versus actually typing on a computer. So it's not every day, every class that they're using computers. They make purposeful choices around all that now.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, guys. Oh, Erica.
Yeah, sorry. I know it's hard on Zoom to go back and forth to me. I was wondering if you have any plans for touching base with students as we get into the school year. I know that there was listening that happened in the spring prior to making these implementation plans, but just staying in close contact with students about how they're reacting, how they're getting used to it, and any hurdles that were unanticipated in terms of implementation.
Go ahead.
I think one of the things that we committed to with our students when they went to, in this past January, when they went to Off and Away, was that we want to hear from them. There's going to be things that are happening in their lives, whether it's sports or outside pieces that are impacting them, that we want to know about, because we can creatively solve them for that. So it is important to touch base with the students as this is rolling out, to better understand what those are. And what was really interesting in the springtime with those conversations is how they evolved. So when we purposely planned one of those conversations right about 1 or 2 weeks after the start of the off and away implementation. And the students came to the meeting and they're like, oh, like we can't get to class on time. Like we don't know how to check our schedule. And that was their major pain point at that moment in time. And we're like, okay. So the next meeting they came and they had a different pain point. And so I asked them like, well, how is the schedule thing going for you? And they're like, oh, we just look at our schedule before we leave class. And now we know where to go next. And then the next time they came and they had like this color-coded thing that they carried with them. So they're also really creative at solving those problems too, but it is important to identify it, have a space for them to share it, and if they need us to intervene, that we can help to find those solutions to them.
And I would just add to that, I think all stakeholders will continue our community conversations with staff and also with parents as well. So it won't just be kids, but every group.
Yeah, and I don't think we can overemphasize the fact that half of the school will have experienced Yonder while they're in the middle school. And the lessons that we learned through that implementation are all informing how we're approaching this one, right? So and that was part of the plan. If it was successful in the middle school, we had talked about it moving up to the high school and how we're going to do it. So we've learned quite a bit, and all of those lessons will help inform the decisions here at the high school. And so the kids know, right? Because they've been doing it for 2 years, so.
I don't think I talked about timeline. Again, I think the pouches might get here in either mid-September or October. And up until that point, we will be fully off and away. We should not see a phone in the building, just to let everybody know that. And it will be my letter I'm sending home tomorrow as well.
And we'd love to think on day 2, everything is fine and perfect and everyone's doing what they have to do. But as I said, we learned from our implementation that it takes about 3-5 weeks, but the habits are built and the students understand and begin to benefit from the program itself. And as they benefit, it becomes a virtuous cycle of putting these things away. And I think we also learned, one of my great fears was that when we return from the summer break, is it another 3 to 5 weeks of going back and forth? And it really hadn't been, right? At Saks, after year 2 started much more smoothly than the startup, that initial push in the beginning. So once you get going on this, if you're consistent across the board in what you're doing, there's been some great success. So we're really looking forward to it.
Terrific. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is an end-of-year athletics update with our athletic director, Mr. Jay Egan.
What's that? No, you're all set. Good evening. It's great to be here tonight. I always look forward to this, the opportunity to talk to the board and tell the story that we have to tell as far as athletics is concerned. I just want to say, to make sure that I say this, how appreciative everyone, coaches, athletes, we all are of your consistent support. And I've been in Canaan for a bit of time, and there's been always a commitment here to excellence. There's a commitment to academic excellence, performing arts, and certainly athletics. And so it would not be done without the support of the town and the board as well. So thank you for that. My assistant, Danny Melzer, is here. Danny, thank you for all that you do. He's also in his spare time, he's the basketball coach. He's done a tremendous job with our basketball program since we recruited him. Also, Jess Hutter is my admin, is wonderful. Many of you might know her from Saks and the work she did there. And then also Lindsay Herron, who's the bursar at the high school, also helps me manage my budget, and she's another tremendous resource for us. Before I get to my presentation, I just want to make an observation. I know that Bill Egan wants to finish his career at New Canaan High School, and I hope that he does that for all your sakes. But after watching his performance tonight, I think he has a future in infomercials. And I think that, so he should not worry about, what life holds for him upon his retirement. That was quite a show you put on, Bill. No, I'm sure you're not. I've been around you for a while, I know that. So tonight, as I thought about what I wanted to put together for you guys, I envisioned what it must be like out in the community as a member of the Board of Education with the interest and enthusiasm the community has for athletics. You must get a lot of questions, comments, critiques, criticisms, the whole gamut. So what I'm going to try to provide tonight is some information about maybe what some of those questions, I have envisioned what some of those questions might be. I'm going to try to provide some information that can help you guys with that, as well as telling the good story that we have to tell. So according to the comprehensive national high school rankings from NICE, New Canaan High School ranks 49th out of 21,469 schools as the best high school for athletes in America, on the best high school athletes in America's list. So I was curious when I found out that this was the case about, like, how do they come up with, what is their criteria? And I think the criteria is what's really most important about this. So when we look at the key program strengths as identified about New Canaan High School, they talk about massive student engagement. So over 65%, actually our number is 68% of students participate in at least one school sport. And an overwhelming 96% of respondents agree that the student body is intensely athletic and competitive. A historical dynasty in infrastructure. The school has accumulated 175 state and New England championships since 1961. The program benefits from elite infrastructure, including comprehensive youth theater camps. So what this is building a picture of is what is in place in New Canaan that allows a program like we have here at New Canaan High School to be what it is. Certainly, legendary coaching continuity. We have head coaches that have been doing what they do for a long time, provide decades of structural consistency that few schools can match. Huh? There's, in 50, well, it's 50 years, there's 2, I think. So additional strengths. I think this is one that I take a lot of pride in. It's all around program equity. Unlike schools that funnel resources into a single program, New Canaan maintains championship-level depth across 28 sports. Recently, titles we have: girls cross country, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, boys hockey, volleyball, golf, tennis, football. So the thing that makes me proud about that is we're making memories for so many student athletes across the board. And it would certainly, in a community like this, we know that there's sports that are, more popular than others, more interested. People might be more interested, but the fact that we're able to open the door to all of these sports and positive experiences, I think is something that's really special. And importantly, extensive Booster Club funding. The All Sports Booster Club works outside the standard school budget to provide equitable resource distribution, that they directly fund additional coaching staff for every team to elevate skills and training. Now I'll talk about that in detail in a bit. This year, many of our coaches who are our greatest resources were recognized as Coaches of the Year. And I just want to speak about Lou Marinelli won the American Football Coaches Association Power of Influence Award. This is a national award. Okay, so there were finalists, regional finalists, and it's for not winning a lot of games, but having a positive influence on community and young people over a career. So that is an extremely prestigious award. He does a lot of great things. He's been doing a lot of great things here for a long time. So that's really a well-deserved recognition that Lou got this year. Bill Brown was the Connecticut High School Coaches Association Boys Golf Coach of the Year and the FCAC Girls Golf Coach of the Year. Boys hockey, Clark Jones was the FCAC Coach of the Year. Ben Young. Boys tennis, boys volleyball, Amy Andrews, she's the FCAC Coach of the Year. Girls cross country, Jeff Brenson, FCAC Coach of the Year. And really something else that was very, very well deserved is Jason Miska, who's assistant football coach for the Connecticut High School Coaches Association, recognized as Assistant Coach of the Year. And Jason is also the person who is very instrumental in all the strength and conditioning programming that goes on at New Canaan High School, which is probably one of our secrets to success. Talked about this number before. So unique athlete, this means one athlete. So it's not multiple sport athletes in this case, it's one athlete. So we have 1,251 students, we have 850 unique athletes. So 68% of New Canaan High School students participate in athletics. So if we're walking down the hall, we see 10 students, 7 of those students, have at some point in the school year have participated in athletics. That's a good number. That's something else that we're very proud of. That's important. And some of those athletes, we have a Division I signing ceremony where the athletes commit to Division I. It's something that if they're receiving financial aid as of a certain date, which is usually the first week in November, they have to sign that they are going to accept the grant and aid. Who knows what the grant and aids are these days? It could be, they all could be millionaires, I don't know, but with NIL, so this is our Division I signing ceremony. In the Division III commitment ceremony, we have kids that we recruited Division III athletes. This is a really fun event that we have. They get flags for the school that they're going to, take a lot of nice pictures. But so what happened here is Division I, the most selective as far as college recruitment is concerned. 1% to 3% of high school athletes generally are recruited. Division III has a slightly higher participation rate as far as recruiting is concerned. 3% to 6% of senior athletes are usually recruited athletes. We had 34 recruited athletes out of 135 possible students. So 25% of the student athletes were recruited either Division I or Division III athletes. These aren't just kids that decide they're going to go there. We know that they are being recruited as a result of their interest and their ability. So, I'm not going to get off track on this, but there's reasons why people say that kids go to private school and all that. So there's no reason why, if you live in New Canaan, that you wouldn't go to New Canaan High School. Academics, athletics, everything wrapped up. It's a fantastic opportunity. This is a little bit of a different thing. I got off. So the national norm indicates that 1% of high school athletes ever experience winning a state championship. I put this into one of the AI tools, and all it said was that statistically, New Canaan High School is a massive statistical outlier. So I guess we're doing well there. The reality for an NCPS athlete, because we field elite, deep rosters, 28 sports, significant percentage of student athletes graduate having won at least one state or regional title, defying the national average entirely. This year, we won championships in football and league championships. Let me just back up for 1 second. The Fairfield County Interscholastic Athletic Conference is 16 teams. It's a regional conference that was organized for geographic proximity for competition. So it's teams in Fairfield County. The CIAC is the overarching organization that governs athletics in Connecticut. And it's all athletics in Connecticut. And what they do is if there are 150 teams that are competing in soccer, they'll divide those up. If there's 4 divisions, they'll divide those up equally. So you usually end up with 30 or 40 teams per division. So in the CIAC football Class L, we were Class L champions. Girls cross country, we were Class L champions. We won our first boys ice hockey championship in 54 years. Won the tennis championship this year, and our boys volleyball team is a great story because they had a tremendous year. They lost 1 game to the eventual double L champions, and really were just dominant all the way through. Their game against Maloney was just a really fun game to watch. It's a very, very, very talented team. This is on my mind, so I just have to say it because it's kind of an interest. So we have this, not that we planned this, but we seem to have Maloney High School in Meriden. It's an urban school, and we always seem to run up against them in playoffs. This year, 2 years ago, we beat them in an unbelievable football game at Dunning Stadium. This year, we beat them. We matched up in state playoffs. We beat them in football. We beat them in softball, baseball. We had a double overtime basketball game, which was one of the greatest games that you ever saw in our gym. And then we ended up beating him in volleyball. But before the volleyball game, they interviewed the player from Maloney, and I guess Seymour had beaten them during the year. And they said, well, do you want to play Seymour again? And he goes, well, I want to play him again, but our whole school wants to play New Canaan. but we were able to win that game as well, so the volleyball game. But it's that's a funny thing. So Final Four appearances. So we get to a semifinal, and the reason I'm including this is this is, I think, where the memories come for athletes. Being the excitement comes, the season gets elongated. They get a chance to do some things. It's exciting things. A lot of times playing against schools that you don't normally play against. So Final Four appearances, so obviously football, girls volleyball, soccer, boys hockey, girls hockey, boys basketball. In red are our spring sports team. So every single one of our spring sports was in a semifinal of FCAC or CIAC. Actually both. I'm looking at that, except for baseball. So that's something that's that we've never had happen before. And you have to also, I have to just put this in context. So when I was talking about our league, our enrollment is 1,251 students. We are the third smallest school in the FCAC. So we have St. Joe's is the smallest. Wilton is smaller than New Canaan High School by about 5 students. Darien has 200 more students than we do, as do the 2 Fairfield schools and Ridgefield. So we're on the side of the smaller side of our league, and generally, we're in Class L as far as the state is concerned. So and we have a lot of multi-sport athletes, which really helps us. We have a senior award presentation or event the day before graduation. So we think about it as graduation from athletics, and it's a way for us to put closure for our athletes, and we give them a framed letter, and it's a nice event. So a couple of years ago, I think maybe Danny had the idea of having the seniors reflect on their experience, and so we did it. I think this is the 3rd time that we asked some seniors to reflect. And so I wanted to include this because when I start to talk about what we're interested in and what we are trying to prioritize, this is exactly what we want. This is exactly the outcomes that we're looking for. So the moment when I walked off the field for the last time, I focused on the hundreds of good moments. I focused on the friendships I've made, time I've spent with my team, through exciting victories and heartbreaking losses. As we move on to the next chapter, I hope we remember that our impact wasn't just measured by wins, points, goals, or championships. It was measured by the examples we set, the legacy we left, and the friendships we created. Most of us will never, these are 3 separate reflections. Most of us will never play a varsity sport again, but that doesn't mean that your competitive career is over. Take the same tenacity that you had on the field and bring it to the classroom, the workplace, and beyond. Most importantly, keep in touch with your teammates. College and life will bring many unknowns, but it's a lot easier when you have a brother or sister to talk to. So despite the fact, or along with the fact that we're able to have some success competitively, the things that are really important is how we're helping young people develop, and that's why I felt like this was important to share. Quickly, for just a quick review of the season, I went over a lot of this as well. Just to highlight back to the football, the #1 team in Connecticut, it was a 4-peat. Girls cross country, they have a great group of girls. Most of them actually are underclassmen. They're state champions, and they're 2nd in the state open meet, which is all the classes together. Anytime they call it an open meet, it's everybody, the top people qualify for that out of the class meets. So it's usually 6 teams out of maybe four classes. So the girls were 2nd. Boys ice hockey, FCAC champs, Division I champs. Girls were runners up in both, and all girls track was also FCAC runner up. Spring sports, the girls now. Bill Brown, our coach, when I heard that they won, he was telling me all season, and they really didn't have a great record all season. I think they lost 2 or 3, maybe 4 matches. So nobody was expecting that they were going to win. So I called him up when I heard they won. I said, Bill, what happened? He goes, I have no idea. But one girl shot 77 at Sterling Farms. Our #1 player shot 77 at Sterling Farms, and I guess nobody else broke 90, and so that was not on our team, but in general. So it was a nice day and everything. So I really don't know, and he doesn't either. But we won. Boys lacrosse, FCAC runner-up, Class LL runner-up, volleyball, second consecutive FCAC championship, and it's the first time that team has won a state championship. Boys tennis was undefeated this year, and they beat Greenwich, and I think Greenwich hadn't lost in like 2 or 3 years, but then we won 4-3, and then they won 3-4 in the FCAC championship. We went on to win the Class L championship. Girls lacrosse also FCAC and CIAC runners-up. Here's just a few pictures. This is Thanksgiving Day, which I think is one of my favorite days, just because of all that it brings with the community and just football and Thanksgiving. The turkeys are burning and everybody's at the football game. I think it's great. Here again is the girls cross country. Boys 3 times FCAC champions. This is the boys ice hockey. 54-year state championship drought is over. Most importantly, here on the right, you can see that our esteemed principal is in this picture. So I felt like it was important that he gets in this picture to reward him for all the games that he comes to and all the supervision that he does. So it's only fair that he survived going out on the ice, he survived getting off the ice, and so we thought he should be in the picture. Yeah. Boys tennis. Here's the boys volleyball, and this is their first championship. And here's the girls golf. They don't know nobody knows how they won, but they won, which is good. So this is a little different for me to do, but I want to I'm just going to go through this quickly, but it's important. So the beauty of athletics, it takes many forms, right? Some athletes achieve greatness carrying a team on their back, elevating players around them, and executing complex team strategies. Other athletes achieve greatness in the loneliest arenas. So where it's just them against the clock or a score. I don't even know how many of you know who Emma Kelly is, but she is a 3-time FCAC and 2-time state open champion. Emma, competing for Ireland last month, qualified for the Junior World Championships in Croatia as a diver. So she's a Canaan high school student, and she dove, I think it was in Belfast. And her dad, I text back and forth with her dad, and so that's her. And after this meet that she just dove in, she's going to North Carolina, and she'll be there for the summer for school, and then she's going to Croatia, and the coach at North Carolina is going to coach her in the World Junior Championships in Croatia. So I thought that's something that everybody might not be aware of. Also, we have a youth track program, which maybe some of you are aware of, the Blazers. It's a program that our coaches run. So we're starting to see some real benefits. We, at the high school, are starting to see some real benefits of that program on both sides. But Ryan Moynihan, who's one of our seniors, he's the Class L championship in 1600. Danny told me that I should explain these distances because nobody knows anything about track. I coached track for a while, so I will explain the distances. So 1600 is 4 laps around a track. And it's not a mile because it's metric. So for it to be a mile, you have to move back 9 yards from the start line. So it's 1,600 meters plus 9 yards is a mile. They refer to this as the metric mile. So that's what a 1,600 is. 800 is 2 laps around a track. So Ryan ran 4:08 for 1,600 meters. So basically, you would sprint to run that fast. And he has also the school record in 800, which is 2 laps around the track, and 152, that's faster than 1 minute a lap, and that's very impressive. What I thought also was impressive is in the Class L finals in the boys 800, Buchanan went 1, 2, 3 in that race, and those are the 3 boys that finished first, second, and third. It's in the state championship. They finished first, second, and third. Girls 4x800 champions, I put this up here selfishly. They ran 9:13, which is a very fast time. And the reason I know this is because a team that I coached had this previous school record, which was like 25 years ago, and it was also the state record for a long time. So I'm happy they broke the record, sort of. But it's very impressive. And this is something, I just want to mention this because I think it's kind of the key to what we do. Jackson Kroll was named the Boys Athlete of the Year by a Game Time Connecticut, which is it's an online news group that reports on athletics. It's really the only place that in Connecticut, they have a lot of regional reporters, the only place that reports on athletics. So as a junior, I mean, so he's the MVP in the Class L state championship for football. He's the Connecticut Defensive Player of the Year in ice hockey, and he is a USA Lacrosse All-American goalie, and he's a Princeton commit. Now, people say it's old school to play 3 sports and to be a multi-sport athlete. He's my poster child for multi-sport athletes. And it can be done. It's not easy. There's a lot of sacrifices that can be made. But this is the other reason why it's a good idea for everyone to try multiple sports and not to think that a lot of people believe that you have to play one sport all year round. Maybe there's a time when you get to college that's important. But this is it's impressive. We appreciate that he's done this, but I think it would be a good idea for people to consider that more of this would be better. Let's put it that way. So our programs prepare and practice and play to win. It's our goal. It's not our purpose. The why, our purpose is human growth and personal development, as I spoke about with those statements from the seniors. So this is a concept called, is referred to as educational athletics, and it's the reason why schools have athletics. It's the reason is not, schools don't have athletics so kids can get athletic scholarships or whatever. Those are not the reasons. The reason is to help build young people, and that's the reason why a lot of you probably professionally you like to hire athletes, or you like athletes get hired for certain reasons in certain places because. Through their experiences, they've built these types of strengths. And so we would like this to be a core that we have going throughout our entire program. And so when a young person applies, I'll talk about our captain's process in a minute. When a young person applies to be a captain, we ask them to write 2 goals, objectives that are objectives of educational athletics. If you ask me, what does it mean to have a strong culture, I would refer back to these indicators. That explicitly you could see this, you see these things happen on a team. Because other than that, what is culture? It's a word that we in education have these words that we use a lot. But what does it really mean? It means that you're going to strive for excellence. It means you're going to help others succeed. It means you learn from mistakes and failures. You contribute to the team. You have a strong work ethic. This is what makes up culture. So we wanted to, Jess Hutter and I actually worked on this, I will say, and has put most of this together. We now have a process that is exactly the same for each captain's selection in all sports across the board. And we also have a ratio of how many captains versus based on how many students athletes on the team. The reason that we did this is because becoming a captain had become more divisive than it was meaningful, and I won't say important, but it was very important to people to be a captain, and we didn't feel we had the transparency as far as our process, but now we feel like we do. Everybody's going through the same process. There's interviews, there's peer evaluations, and there's a scale of how many kids on a team, based on the number of kids on a team, that how many captains we will have. One of the things that was happening, if there was 5 seniors on a team and there was 4 captains and there was only 20 kids on the team, 3 kids get elected captain, 2 kids don't. Why not me? So it was becoming a problem for us. And so this, we feel, is going to solve that problem, and we're not going to, this is the way it's going to be, this is the way we're going to do it. We've already, we're through the spring, almost through the spring as far as the selection, and, you know, it's taken a little more time, which is good, and it's been a little more of a rigorous process, which is good because it's a great honor to be a captain of a team, and it's an important position. So we have seasonal meetings, we have weekly meetings with team captains to discuss school culture, sportsmanship, their responsibilities, and just basically hearing from them and having this feedback from what's going on in their team to me and to Danny. Danny and I have worked with this, as well as Susan Bliss, who's been a great help to us. And we appreciate her and look forward to keeping her involved. Actually, she brings something a strength that really is not really one of Danny or my strengths, but it's all worked very well. One thing we're going to do this year is we have all of our captains selected before the school year starts, and we're going to have a meeting on the 27th and talk to them about their responsibilities and kind of get them set up. This group becomes one of the leadership groups in the school that we can turn to and can help us. You talk about, Melinda was talking about feedback. I'm sure that we get all these captains together, we can get some good feedback, as far as the phones are concerned, as far as what problems, maybe the problems that are happening with athletes. And so that's how we envision, having this group together and being able to access them, to help everything that's going on in school. If we go all the way back to the beginning of my presentation, we talked about the things that make New Canaan High School athletics strong. So we talked about coaches, we talked about the athletes. So now, if we think about the Booster Club, the main goals of the Booster Club is to lower the coaches to student athlete ratio, support the coaches' professional development, run our summer camps, support varsity game streaming and through NCTV, as well as private vendor that we use. And it's the designated fundraising organization for New Canaan Athletics. I went home today because it was raining and I thought my house was going to float away, so I forgot to bring with me the minutes of a meeting that I have was passed down to me from the previous athletic director. It was June 1981. Those were the goals of the All-Sport Booster Club that I just read to you. It's the same, the goals were the same when they installed this club, the Booster Club, as they are today. So we have 110 coaching positions. The Board of Education funds 75. There are 35 paid coaches, which is 31% of the coaching staff. And the All-Sport Booster contribution this year to the coaches was $192,000. And streaming varsity home games, SE Video, who's a private vendor that we use, we stream most field sports. We stream them all. They're up there. The field sports that we stream, and then NCTV does our football, and they do isolated other games. So the total contribution there was $31,000 to that. And one thing about streaming is once you start, you can't stop because people get used to turning on the TV, and just like everybody relaxes and does one thing, they're watching New Canaan High School athletics. So we're happy with it. We're not happy with, and we'd like to try and find a way to get our costs down with that. We've been working on it, but we're going to continue to work on it. But we know that we have to provide that service. Another thing that happened this year was the renovation of the fitness center. That was all private donations, and it was facilitated by the All-Sport Booster Club. They were able to collect the money. They were able to send out the tax letters and basically use it as a pass-through as far as those funds are concerned. The community is very generous when it comes to a lot of things, and this was no exception. What's been interesting for me to notice is, and I thought it might happen, but now we have most of our other teams that really weren't invested in strength and conditioning are now wanting to be invested in strength and conditioning. And because it's brand new equipment, the things that the movements and some of the activities that you can do in there you couldn't do before with the equipment that we had. Just the ranges of motion and the sport-specific movements are amazing. So this has been a tremendous upgrade for us. And again, it just points to the generation of this community, how generous this community is. Talk about coaches for a minute. Now, when I'm going to share these numbers, and I'm not sharing them to say that it's anything wrong with the way we pay our coaches, because we are in line on the top end of the scale as far as how our coaches are compensated. So I don't want you to, it's not my purpose for sharing this, but I just think it's important just as a perspective. So our head coach is Class 8. Not all, we have one head coach is Class 10. It's football. And I think it was developed for time they spend. Some of the head coaches are Class 7. Most of the assistant coaches are Class 4. So again, I used an AI tool and it approximated that a head coach spends 425 hours a season. I think that's really reasonable given the amount of effort that they put in. So if I'm a Class 8 coach and my compensation is $9,244, I'm making $21 an hour. That's before taxes. And the assistant coach the same way. So that's $17 before whatever payroll taxes have to be taken out. So, this is a labor of love is the best way to describe it. And so I think people that coach, it's like sometimes I think it's like a hobby for them, but it's something that they have passion about and they do because they love it. Nobody's coaching for the money. Of course, they want to be paid for what they do, but that's not the reason people coach. So we do have a coaching evaluation, and I think it's important that just that you all understand how we do this. I didn't put up all the indicators, but this is the general indicators that we use. Obviously, sports knowledge and strategy is important. Safety and administration is important. And how they communicate is really very important. The second part of this is, again, going back to the concepts of educational athletics. This is integration with the coaching evaluation. So those are the indicators you can recognize from the outcomes of educational athletics. And we are using this also to evaluate how the coaches do resolve conflicts, address the team impairment. You can see that all these things for yourselves right there. Learning from mistakes, helping others succeed. So hopefully we can continue to develop this educational athletics thread through all that we do. We identify their top strengths. We identify areas for growth. And then we also have, these are yearly goals that they're always going to have. They need to work closely and help the assistant coaches development. We need uniform replacement plans. We need a multi-year strategy so we can be efficient with the budget. The expectation is that they all engage in youth sport. They have some involvement in youth sport. Now, we can't make them do that. I think almost every one of our head coaches is involved in youth sports. And if we go back to what makes the program strong, that was one of the things, that was one of the indicators of strength of our program, was the strong youth sports program. So, that's very true. Off-season conditioning, as I spoke about the fitness center, we're starting to get teams that we're not in there. I just got an email today from the cross-country coach, wants to know when the room is available when fall comes around. And facilities and equipment, so we can stay ahead of what we're doing budget-wise. We asked them to come up with a 3-year forecast for that. So I've shared with you a lot of good news. This is not great news. So the reason I wanted one slide before I shared this is both of these pieces of information were shared with me in May. One was in the beginning of May, one was late in April, and one was early in May. So, as you know, we rent our ice at the Darien Ice Rink, and the only thing that ever holds back the popularity of ice hockey is facility availability or ice availability. So last year, Our rental at Darien for the boys were 94 total hours, and the girls' hours at Darien were 73. The difference there is there's no girls' JV team because there's nobody to play, and there's not enough, they just don't have that many people participating. And for the boys, there are. So that's 167 hours of ice rental. And last year, it was $535 an hour, and they cut the ice on your dime. So what that means is you get 50 minutes of ice, and then the Zamboni comes out and cuts the ice, and then the next person gets 50 minutes, and so forth. So, so the cost on that last year was $89,345. I got a phone call from the rink manager, maybe early May, stating that next year the per hour cost was $615 an hour, you know, which is about an 18% increase. And dollars, if we have the same ice use that we had this year, it would be $13,360 additional. So there is a private component for the ice. So as far as the Friends of New Canaan Ice Hockey donates the money above what the Board of Education funds, which is, Board of Education funding is significant. You can see it there, it's $54,000 this year. We put in for an increase for next year. I don't know where we are with that, but if it's 58, so the difference is paid by the Friends of New Canaan Ice Hockey. This money's paid for the Board of Education. The Board of Education pays the full contract, and then they're reimbursed by the Friends of New Canaan Ice Hockey. So the only weird thing about this is the Winter Club has the lease on the ice rink. So, as some of you probably know. So, I mean, there's really nothing to do about this. It just is what it is. And the timing, you know, she apologized for the timing, but that doesn't help us when we're developing a budget. I don't think it would have changed us anyway, what we did anyway, because we're certainly not going to put that kind of a increase in. We'd have to, I mean, frankly, it could threaten your JV program. I mean, it's a significant increase that really was unexpected. And this is the Canaan Country Club. So I got a phone call. It was probably like maybe mid-April, late April, and they wanted me to come and have a cup of coffee. So look, I know I'm a popular guy and everything, but I mean, they're calling me to come and have a cup of coffee. There's nothing's good about that. You come up and have a cup of coffee, you know. So I went and we had a cup of coffee, tea. I have tea. And there was somebody there from the golf committee, and the head pro was there. And so they have this, they want from us to, we have 2 days on a practice range, 2 days on the course, and they want one of their assistant pros to help with the technical instruction. And that is part of, and for that they're gonna charge us $5,000. So to me, that's an access fee to the course. So I did ask them, I said, well, is there, you know, we can live with the 2 days on the course and the 2 days on the practice range, but what about the 5? So it's all the deal, it's the deal. So it's the 5,000 plus. So, Expensive cup of tea. So going forward this year, you know, because it's late, and also, so the Booster Club is going to donate $1,000 of that to the 5,000, and then the other 4,000 we're going to look at having to donate privately, most likely from the golfers themselves. So, I mean, that's what it is. Not totally, the problem is not totally solved yet as far as how that's going to be funded, but that's the circumstances right now. Just, again, we'll go back to some more happy news. We are going to have a preseason media day. We'll do it for all seasons, and this is going to be at the end of August. It's August 29th. The Booster Club has hired a professional photographer in addition to the yearbook photographer, and we're trying to build a database so that we can do more with social media as far as the athletes, the games, just, you know, so we'll have a database of pictures, action shots, and so forth. That we're kind of excited about. I spoke about the all-season captains meeting, the first day of school, facility improvement. We are hopefully in the process of building a storage garage in Dunning Stadium on the visitors' side, closest to the parking lot, closest to the school. It's a 3 or 4 bay garage, hopefully a 4 bay garage. It'll be privately funded. It'll be very similar to the garage that's out on the track. It looks good. There is no storage anywhere for carts or goals or anything. So this is the Canaan Lacrosse Association and the football group are going to help fund that. And we're trying to waiting for, I think, P&Z is next week. They already have a basic plan for that, so we have to go back to them and make sure that we can do this before we order it, which is like 4 to 6 months. It's going to be a prefab building like they have out there now, so like we have out on the track now. So that's something that should happen. Something that's going to probably need to happen, it's going to need to happen on the horizon would be doing something with our press box. Our press box is, the facility was built in 1997. It's the original press box. It's got some rot. It's got, you know, we have some good infrastructure in there that we've put in as far as the scoreboard and other things are concerned, but you know, back to streaming and, you know, how much that's a part of athletics now. And so we will need to do something with the press box, and I think that's going to be, we've done some cost estimates on that. That's going to be around $1 million. And, you know, I would look at that as, again, a private project. But that's something that we'll have to start working on, and, you know, I think I'll probably have to work through the board as far as, you know, any permissions or anything that we need to get done as far as moving that forward. So I think that's it.
Thank you, Jay. Any questions for Jay? Brendan?
I just really have a couple of comments. First, you know, I just want to thank you and everybody at the high school who, you know, from coaches and everybody in your office, Danny, et cetera, for all the great work and the success over the years, certainly this past year. You know, my comment really is just around pay. You could see it in the slide that you put together. You know, I probably made this comment for at least 5 straight years. I ask questions, but it's really more of a comment. And I'd say this applies also really to our teachers who do other things after school, like performing arts and, you know, help with clubs, et cetera. I just feel like it's, the pay is totally inadequate. And I think our programs are way more robust when our teachers, you know, actually go out there and coach or help with performing arts or a club or whatever it may be. And I think we really need kind of a step change in what the numbers look like. You know, they need to change pretty meaningfully, I think, to, you know, to get people to want to spend that amount of time. It should be a labor of love, but they should also be, you know, adequately compensated for it. So my hope is, you know, I know that this is tied up in our, you know, our negotiations with, you know, unions, et cetera, but my hope is that we can change that and, you know, have, excuse me, have more of the funding come from our budget and not just rely on, you know, the Booster Club and other organizations. So hopefully we can make that happen. You know, we've made some adjustments over the years, but my hope is that we can do something, you know, really meaningful.
I know you've made, thank you. And I know you've made this, we've talked about this before, and, you know, as I walked away one year, I said I thought I should have mentioned this, and so I will tonight. Some school districts have a tiered system with respect to coaches. So you don't pay a coach that's been there for 2 years the same rate. So there's an increase when you get to 10 years. And so maybe, you know, that would be a way to start. You know, I see that, you know, but the disparity is great to begin with, right? But that would be a way to start, you know, to have some kind of a tiered system as far as, I mean, we have, you know, I know Lou, I mean, Lou's been here. I've been here since 1985. Lou was here since 1982. So, you know, he'd be on the top tier, as would I. But there are other coaches, we have other coaches that, you know, like Danny's been here quite, I mean, and that is really important, you know, and it's that consistency of professional is really important. So thank you, Brendan, appreciate that.
Thanks.
Erica.
Thank you, Jay, for the presentation. I was wondering, I have a question on the coaching evaluations. If you could talk a little bit more about who provides input on them and how you're getting kind of a broad look at from different stakeholders about a coach's performance.
I think it's mostly observation by Danny and myself, both at practice and in the games, and how they are, and the goals that they've set in the previous year, and have they met the goals that they've set the previous year. That's really basically the way that we get our feedback.
Anyone else? I'll give you a couple, Jay.
Okay.
The All Sports Booster Club, does that fund every sport, or does it only fund some sports?
Funds every sport.
Every sport, okay. I had the pleasure of meeting Jason Miska this past fall. Brian and I were talking about, Brian thought he played at Alabama. I think he played at Auburn, right?
He grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and he played linebacker at Auburn. So you don't see that see that every day, but he did. He played at Auburn.
Yeah. Do all athletes, other than just the football players, have access to his strength and conditioning?
They do.
They do.
I would say they do, except for the fall when he's coaching. So when he's coaching, they don't have access to his strength and conditioning. So I think if you're asking, the interest in that program is probably outgrowing the human resources that we have for that program. So that's a fair point.
Okay. And the last one, sort of a bigger picture one for me. You know, you and I spoke the night when the football team in the semifinal game beat Hartford Co-op, and I asked you how we were doing. I think we actually had a board meeting. I saw you outside before, and you said sort of sheepishly, like, we're winning 56-0 or something like that. And you said it like you were borderline uncomfortable. And it just got me to thinking about, the teams that we play, and you brought up the fact that we're the third smallest in the FCAC, but, when you talk about the schools that we play that don't have the resources, it's, a lot of these games are really kind of lopsided. So I'm just wondering, in some of these specific sports, is it you, is it the coaches, who has the latitude to schedule more competitive games? I'm sure we have the FCAC mandates that we have to play a certain amount, but is it possible to go out and schedule teams from Long Island and New Jersey and just give a little bit more competitive flavor to some of our teams?
That's a good question. So the answer to the first question is the co-op team that we played was part of our playoff game. And so instead of having a semifinal and a final in the divisions, they wanted to make it so more, I don't particularly agree with this, but they wanted to make it so more teams could participate. So that's a quarterfinal game. Across the state of Connecticut, most of those quarterfinal games look like what I described to you. Yeah. They were games that should not have been played, right? And so there's a number of reasons why that's bad, because you could have the best team that you ever had, and you have to play a football game, and things happen in a football game that you shouldn't have to play. So it could affect how you're going to go. As far as scheduling, our league, the purpose of the league is to provide competitive schedules. So we have to play the teams in our league. There are some sports where we can pick up 1 or 2 games. As far as lacrosse is concerned, the way lacrosse is structured is they can pick up 8 games. So they can go out and schedule 8 games outside. They never have to play the more developing teams in our league. They do the same thing in hockey. By the way, you'd be interested to know there's only 12 Division I hockey teams in Connecticut at this point. Hamden doesn't have a Division I hockey team anymore. West Haven doesn't have a Division I hockey team anymore. It's unbelievable. So anyway, so they go out and schedule. I mean, we went to Pennsylvania to play a team from Ohio this year in boys lacrosse, and they go to Long Island all the time. So I know that they have the latitude in their schedule to be able to do that. We don't have the latitude. In football, there's what's called, there's we have our league games, and then there are 2 of our 10 games that has come from what's called the Football Alliance in Connecticut. And what they do is they match up teams from the previous years. So this year we have New Britain, who played in the state championship in Double L, and we're playing Fairfield Prep in addition to the teams that we have in our league. So they do that, and they do that in football, and they kind of match you up with teams of based on a previous year that were similar strength.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate the answer and appreciate the presentation.
All right.
And Jay, just before you go, I just would be remiss not to share with the board and the community the award that you received at the end of June, just this past year, the John Cutso President's Honor Award, which is truly an honor and real recognition of your work here as our athletic director and the programs that you've developed and the success you've had in developing young athletes into young men and women. So congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I was proud to receive that award. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Okay, on to a staffing update from our HR Director, Darlene Pianca.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the chance to give you some information on where we currently are in terms of our staffing. Happy to say there's a full roster of hires that sits in front of you right now, most of the certified staff included in that. I'll take you through that in a minute, but before I do, I just wanted to quickly say a big thank you to all of the people who do the work before it comes to me. And it's all done very, very efficiently and is a very exciting thing when someone comes to me and has been vetted, and we're very excited about them. So thanks to all the administrators and the building teams in the buildings. Thanks to the cabinet who also helps with this process, and also to Dr. Lutzy, who's my next door neighbor. And whenever it is a possibility and he has a free minute, he loves to meet the new 3rd grade teacher at East. So we just pop in. And so, this is definitely a team effort, and everyone, I think, always has taken great pride in selecting the people who come to work for our district. They take it really seriously, and I'm really excited. I know I say that every year, but I'm excited about the people that I've met in the last couple of months. It has been a lot of work for them, and I think ultimately it will really end up impacting our district in a really good way. The secret that I'll tell you is that I challenged all of the principals to try to get the majority of this work done so that I could sit here tonight and tell you that they had all their hires completed. And most of them obliged me. So it's gone really well with the number of hires that we've got. We do, as always, have a couple of recent resignations, 1 or 2, that are a surprise to us that we will definitely promise you to manage as quickly as we can and get those hires made. But just to quickly take you through this, in terms of the district hires, we have hired an assistant director of multi-language learners, a psychologist who's going to be shared amongst 2 of the buildings, and a board-certified behavior analyst that's going to be also shared between some of the buildings. We will have an announcement in the very near future about a director of finance and operations hire, which was also a big thing. In terms of the elementary schools at East, you can see there we've got 3 hires, a grade 3, a Spanish, and a grade 2. At West, a grade 3, a grade 2, and a pre-K position. And I apologize that South is on the next page, but it is 4 positions: a sped position, a grade 4, a literacy specialist, and a grade 1 position, all hired. As far as the SACS schools, I won't read them all off. You can see there 10 hires, a lot of work, very exciting, and all of these people are currently on board and will be ready to go. At New Canaan High School, 2 school counselors, an orchestra teacher, a downtown campus teacher who will be hired, I think, primarily for the purpose of math and science. Also a long-term sub in our English department, which is a really difficult thing to find, really good hire. And a physical education / adaptive PE teacher. That some of that APE will be shared in other schools. currently looking at the hiring for building sub positions in a couple of our schools. So some of those people who were already brought on to be building subs for next year, we have ended up hiring when we had a recent resignation. So we're filling those. It's not like we haven't done them, but they're all in process. Also, just kind of for your reference so that you know moving forward, as you recall, at the end of the year last year, we had 14 retirees. We had 9 retirees. We've got 14 this year, so we filled all those. Still open and some positions that we're currently looking for is another board-certified behavior analyst, and that's in process. A music teacher at South, that's way in process. A special ed teacher at South that we're looking for. And one of the recent resignations was an elementary teacher at West that we're looking to fill. And the grade 5 1 year was actually, I think, finished up today. So we're doing well with that. Other than that, just for your information, some openings that we have, if you were to go on the website to look to see what's there, we have a few custodial openings for evening shift positions. Those interviews are being scheduled for next week, so we're in a good place with that. We've pretty much always got up an advertisement for food service temporary workers, but we've hired 1 or 2 permanent workers in the last couple of weeks. And we're working on, especially this week, the paraprofessional positions, so both in special education and general ed, working on filling those. There are not a lot of openings right now, maybe 3 or 4. And always looking for tutors, subs, and hiring coaches with Jay. We also, I didn't add this because it happened this morning, but have a security floater position we'll be looking to fill. So far this year, 27 new teachers as of today. Probably will go up a couple. And again, for your reference, from new teacher induction for last year, we had 34 teachers. And the other thing I just wanted to briefly mention was that we're continuing to review our enrollment numbers. And as of a couple of weeks ago, made the decision to add a kindergarten section at West and a grade 1 section at South. And those were dictated by our enrollment figures, and those are hired. So I think it's safe to say, based on this list, that we're in a really good place in terms of hiring. And, I'm happy to say it's July 21st, and we don't have a lot to do. And I know I've mentioned to you previously that I keep track of how things are going in other places around us. And on the first day, we're going to be, I'm hoping that, we don't have a lot of big openings. Hopefully none. So it's all good news.
Thank you, Darlene, and thank you for apologizing for putting South on the wrong page.
It bothered me.
I don't know how that happened.
Why is that there?
South needs to be first and foremost, you know that.
Yeah. I know. I did that for you, Phil.
Any questions for Darlene? Josh?
Thank you for putting East first. Congratulations.
Wait, I forgot my mug that had all of the different schools on it, right?
Real quickly, so have you noticed any changes this season in terms of the market, in terms of what candidates are looking for, in terms of our ability to be competitive in getting the best teachers and staff?
I think we continue to have a couple of small challenges. One has to do with the shortage areas. So special education and school psychology and board certified behavior analysts, as you can tell. But if we were to get at what your real question is in terms of what they're looking for, we have become more competitive in our salary offerings since the last contract. I think that really worked well for us. One of the things continues to be the quality of life piece in terms of the commute. Some people are more than willing to, just drive, and it's not a big deal for them. Other people do bring it up to me, and a small number say they would like to take the evening to think about it because they have an offer from a district that's closer to their home, which might not be paying more, but commute is definitely a consideration.
Well, we're not going to move, so.
Yeah. We do the best we can,
we do.
so.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Darlene. Next up is a lunch pricing update from Dr. Lutzy.
Yes, and I do just, before we go away from the staffing entirely, just want to share that we are very excited to have identified and hired our new Director of Finance and Operations, who will be starting with us August 17th. We'll do the full introduction at the next Board of Education meeting.
I wasn't sure.
No, I can't help myself. I can't help myself. I talked to her just today, had a great conversation, and we're very excited for her to get started. Casey is her name. She is a 1997 graduate of New Canaan High School. And I'm not going to tell you anything else about her because I'm going to let her introduce herself soon. But I want to say thank you to Raquel and to Phil for joining us in the committee and everyone else who was there. And we're very excited. And in the meantime, you'll be pleased to know Dr. Keating has been working with us. She was in the office today, spent the day today, going through all of the books, working with Pat. She's been meeting with all of our different departments, with Ian, with Scott, with Michelle, with Dave in transportation, and is meeting and speaking regularly. I know she met with the cabinet as well. So it's great to have Joanne back. She's doing a wonderful job. She wanted me to share her well wishes with all of you. And yeah, we're in a good place. So thank you. Can't help it. It's exciting. It was so great to see Joanne today. So on to our lunch pricing updates. You have a one-page handout. We've talked about this multiple times with our resources committee, resources and facilities. And so what we're looking to do is increase our prices next year in the cafeterias by 5%. We've only had one increase in the last 10 plus years. As you know, inflation has been really eating into the profits for our food service. The quality of the food we get is excellent. You know, we privately source most of it. We are not in the national lunch program, so we are able to privately source the food and the quality and what we get, which is far superior to what we'd have to purchase otherwise. So you have a sheet that gives some of the comparisons there. But let's see, inflation in 2024 was 2.9%, 2.6% in 25, over 4% in 26. So just compounding those numbers for where we are with our food service. So what we're looking to do is a 5% across the board price increase. It'll apply to meals, to snacks, and to beverages. We're still very competitive with our surrounding towns and feel that it's something that our community will be able to, reasonably absorb. We will continue with our cookie program, of course. I've been meeting with the Community Foundation, and they're going to be continuing to support that cookie program going into next year and beyond. And we're actually talking more about, are there other ways we can help some families that may not qualify for the free reduced price lunch, but also are close to qualifying. They call it that, and ALICE is the terminology that they use, which is asset limited, income constrained, employed. And that's, there's some folks there that don't quite qualify for assistance, but need the assistance. I know that was risky. Need the assistance to help them to thrive, which is what we wish for every one of our children and families. So, but the 5% will help us to balance the books a bit and be sure that we continue to run in the black and continue to provide the best restaurant in town for our kids every day.
Any questions for Dr. Lutzy on the school lunch update? Okay.
Great, thank you.
On to an update regarding pre-K move and the 220 Elm update.
Fabulous. This will be equally brief, I believe, but we are on track with our pre-K move over to South. As you know, we're moving 2 sections over there, and it's taken quite a bit. We've moved some rooms around, cleared out some space, and identified the best place for those 2 pre-K classes to be. Our teachers have been visiting, our TAs, I've been visiting. Alex, who's the program director, has been over there visiting, and certainly Bill has been shepherding that project and doing a wonderful job with it. The playground work, the other work that's there. So what we're doing now is as we're doing this work, we're accruing those bills, and then we'll be drawing down from the town's appropriation of $500,000 for this work, right? That's for the playground, that's for the relocation, that's for some equipment, supplies, other things we may need. So all of that is going according to schedule and going well, thanks again to everybody's effort, including Scott Olson, who's our Director of Facilities. He's been doing a wonderful job with it, too. The next door, 212, we're in 220, and the building next to us is 212. That is our move for our downtown campus, and so that work was completed as well. Just at the end of May, beginning of June, we received our CO and we're able to make that transition. So we will begin the school year with our downtown campus located in 212, which frees up that extra space for launch, which is running, I think, are we starting with 7?
It'll be closer to 10. Should be
Closer to
9,
10. And again, launches for the children that are 18 to 22. So 10 is a large number, and they're big bodies, they're adults, right? So we need that extra space in order to help that program and provide them a little bit of breathing room over there. We'll still have that fully functioning kitchen that's right in the middle of that space, and downtown campus will be able to come over to use the kitchen, of course, and still use that facility, and we'll be using that with launch as well. So we're excited about both of those shifts. The downtown campus and Mike Staffaroni and his crew, they've been over there looking at it, getting settled and sort of figuring out where things will be. And the way we've designed it over there is really 2 distinct instructional spaces so that we can have 2 classes concurrently running, which is something we couldn't do in 220 where we only had that 1 classroom space. So having those 2 spaces we think will really help because it is a 9 through 12 program. So we have underclassmen, upperclassmen, and so we're looking now, and you'll see in the goals, there's one of the objectives is to really review that staffing model, to look at our outcomes, look at the investment, and to continue to evolve that program now that we have this type of flexible space. We did have some of this flexibility in 39 Locust when we had moved into we had the travel agency first, and then there was a private equity place in the back that left, and we were able to expand into that. We compressed again when we came back to 220, so this will allow us to continue the growth of that program and to continue evolving it to meet the students' needs over there. So excited about both of those things.
Any questions on the pre-K move? Any of that stuff? Okay. We're going to move on to our action items. The first is a donation from the aforementioned New Canaan All Sport Booster Club.
Yes. So as Jay mentioned for us, the New Canaan All Sports Booster Club believes that lowering the coach to athlete ratio leads to more effective instruction and increases the opportunities for positive athletic experiences. And I think we see that in the outcomes, we see that in the experience and the kids and the participation, right? Again, with 68% of our students in one or more participating in one or more of our sports really says a lot. So in support of that belief, the New Canaan All Sports Booster Club is donating $51,908.80 to the New Canaan Board of Ed to support the coaching positions listed below. And I do think it's important, given the context and the conversation we had, just to reiterate that the All Sports Booster Club donations go for additional coaches. They don't go towards, it doesn't supplement the Board of Education's contribution to the people that coach. It adds coaches using the same pay scale and the same ratios that are in the contracts. And the ratios that folks are paid come directly from the teacher's contract. So that is negotiated every 3 years. But oftentimes with school districts, what happens is, the folks at the table doing the negotiations aren't necessarily the ones on the field or on the theater or on the stage with the kids. So they don't always make this piece of the negotiation a high priority. So as a board, as a community, if we feel that it is, I think that it would be incumbent upon us to develop some proposals and perhaps consider bringing some of those proposals forward in the negotiations and working with our teachers in that way. But that being said, we did gain some ground in the last negotiation because what happens is generally it might be a percentage of your bottom step, and they might receive a certain percentage of that step. As the board increases the starting salary of a teacher on step 1, we eliminated a couple of steps last time. That actually did help to, not much, but at least increase to some slight degree some of what we're paying some of our coaches. But that's another way to get at it, could be to look at the entire system and identify, are we paying our first year beginning teachers enough? And we can look at some of those comps and then see, where perhaps even changing what step that is a percentage of, what it's based upon. So there's different ways to look at it. I think there'll be rich conversations for us to have in order to continue to support our programs. Regardless, the All Sports Booster Club's deep generosity continues with, again, over just about $52,000 donation. And this is adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 additional coaches in our spring season alone that would not be resourced, would not be on the field, and wouldn't be working with our student athletes. So truly makes a world of difference for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm asking for a motion to accept a donation from the New Canaan All Sports Booster Club in the amount of $51,908.80 to support spring coaching positions. Can I get a motion? Matt, second. Brendan, all in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Next action item is our 2026-2027 district goals and objectives.
Yes, so as you know, when we have our district goals and objectives, we have 2 readings of the goals and objectives. So I provided the board 2 copies. One is the marked up copy. That is a mess because of the years that we've had this and the different formats and the work that we've done. But so there's also a clean copy here. And what I'd like to do is just highlight a couple of things that are in here for the board, and then you have an opportunity between now and our next meeting to review, to talk, to share questions or feedback, and then we can, go in more depth in the next meeting if that works for the board. So I feel like I'm doing the statement of accounts. Everyone just got up and left. As the board's very well aware, we have 5 goals, and then what we do is we develop our indicators and objectives underneath each of those goals. And we work hard not to allow this document to get too out of hand, right? If we really put everything that we're doing into this document, it'd be 30 pages, and it just wouldn't be anything you wrap your arms around. But for us here, we really try to focus on those high leverage, high focus areas as we continue to do the work. So a couple of the changes or the additions or the evolutions right here in goal 1, number 2. You'll see that we're evolving our work around the portrait of the graduate, right? Where initially it was to introduce and to begin, now we're really looking to embed. And we're looking to embed K-12, not just the high school, to continue to focus on that student showcase, right? The the conference that our students did as part of the graduation of the high school. Those of you that were able to make it, I think really would agree that it really resonated. It was a powerful experience for folks. But that will come even more naturally as we continue to establish the structures for students to routinely reflect and demonstrate their competencies, throughout the K-12 continuum. We also, I'll just keep moving through. We also looked at our goals around technology and student technology use. And as we heard tonight, we're continuing, I think, to do really excellent work around establishing healthy structures in our schools and following best practices. It's also, as the board is very well aware, our goal is not always the bleeding edge, but the cutting edge. And I feel like that's, that thoughtful approach that we take, the focus groups that Melinda and Bill ran this year, the way that we really thought and included the community. And so as you look at the goal 5, one of our goals going in, one of the new ones is E here, which is to develop, implement, monitor, and refine research-informed developmentally appropriate guidelines and practices for healthy technology and screen use, including phone-free school initiatives at the schools, to support student wellness, strengthen family partnerships, and promote meaningful learning and connection. Felt like such an objective, while broad, really opens that space for us to get into those conversations around screen use and why it's important. Because again, this isn't just a yes, no, it's not a numbers thing. It's really about use. And we want to make sure that it's always grounded in the purpose and the use and the outcomes and careful that way. We also believe that in balancing this correctly, the wellness dimension of this is important. Again, we're not just doing it to do it. We're doing it in service to that larger goal of creating healthy systems for our entire school community in all domains of their experience when they're here with us. That continues, throughout. And again, you'll be able to pick out other changes here and there as we go, and it does evolve. Let's see. And it looks like that might be repeated, so we'll make sure this is clean, at least in the messy one. Again, it is messy, but we'll go on to goal 2 is remaining consistent. I think our communications plan, our advocacy, the work that we're doing. I'll share with the board that just today, I was communicating with Jen Leeper, who is the chair of the Education Committee in Hartford, and we've set a meeting up for Monday. I've been on a committee with her over the last 6 months or so, working through the RESCs and a few other educational leaders. And we've been talking a bit. We talked about the cell phone legislation that unfortunately failed last minute as it was going through Hartford this past year. And we worked together on that a little bit. And she's asked me to work with her and work together around some crafting legislation that would address some screen time and cell phones and sort of putting those things together. So Jen and I will be talking on Monday. We've been talking throughout the summer. We're talking in the fall. So we'll continue to work together to craft something we can bring forward to in Hartford for this next session to put on the table that will, again, it'll have cell phones, but it'll also have some screen time and technology use in it. So we'll see. But we're very much in the conversation around this as a district. And, again, that's objective 2, is to continue to advocate in those ways, or goal 2. So that served us well. In goal 3, we're looking at continuing to refine and improve the coaching work that we've continued to do. Domain 7 in Temple, we have the E at the bottom here, which is aligning the coaching feedback by utilizing the student engagement framework and coaching cycles. And, really continuing to improve in this really very, very essential area. We've got our classroom coaches, we have our math coach, we're doing this work, and we know that by using research-based frameworks for feedback, it'll help us to continue to grow and improve as a system. On the bottom, on 2, is our HR domain around, or objectives around this. And one that was added is E at the bottom, which is to continually monitor and adjust the NCPS staffing plan, balancing student needs with available district resources to maximize effectiveness and efficiency. And I think that's something that we always do and we've had to do, but I think it merits a mention in our district goals here, because a lot of our time, effort, and thought does go into how do we maximize our staffing plan to benefit our children in the district. We have a lot of exciting things going on in this next upcoming year. We have a tri-state visit by the Tri-State Consortium that Dr. Krenti and her team have been preparing for already getting started for that. We also have the American Association of School Administrators, AASA, coming to visit us in November. The board will be invited to all that. And we also have a showcase that we'll be hosting here that's being underwritten, if you will, by Audio Enhancement, in order to showcase for other districts in Connecticut and New York the system that we've installed here at the high school. I will be inviting town folks to that as well, because they will be seeing it again in the budget for the middle school for the following year. But they've asked us to host, and we're happy to do that. And we'll be able to talk a bit about our programs, what we're doing here, and I've convinced them to let me bring everyone to the Dome and put on a show. So it won't just be about the audio enhancement, but really the more we use this system, the more impressed we are by its interoperability with all the other systems, whether it's the cameras, the security, the doors, all of it. Really, it works very well. And we're thrilled with not just the audio enhancement piece in the classroom, but also all of the other communication components that it provides, including security, especially school security. Right. So we're thrilled with that and happy to share it with others in the hope that they invest similarly, because I think it's a very wise investment. Let's see. We completed our school climate surveys this past year, so next year we'll be developing and implementing action plans based on the results of the survey. It's our 3rd year with the survey, so we have some solid longitudinal data. And what we've done in the past is have our kids involved with developing those action plans, looking through the results, talking through, working as a focus group, and then having them as part of the solution development, implementation, and assessment. So we'll be doing that same type of work. Let's see. And we're going to finally, objective 5, we'll continue doing, the very good work that we've been doing, where we'll continue setting a goal of streamlining the budget process. You need aspirational goals. And that appears to be a very aspirational one. So we'll keep trying. But I am excited for our new Director of Finance Operations to get started soon. I think she'll bring some good ideas as well, and will help us with some of that work. Our composting at South this past couple of years has gone very well. And we've expanded actually to East, and now a grade or two over at East are doing it. And we're going to continue looking at really expanding that broadly and continuing to teach those good habits and do our best to save the planet, right, with our composting. So Katie Owsley's reached out. I'll be reaching out back to her. I've known Katie for a long time. She was a PTC president back 12 years ago when was it 12 years ago when I started? And so we will be communicating, working through, and we'll keep developing that project out based on, thanks to the help of Planet New Canaan, right, and our principals and staff who are excited to do it. So we'll keep doing that. And number 3, of course, is to continue developing and to implement the comprehensive pre-K-8 facilities plan to accommodate enrollment growth while improving facilities and educational experiences for all students. That's really about the questions coming before the board will be around, I'll use the word redistricting, expanding, renovating, building. So those conversations are going to happen in the next couple of months. Again, with a new DFO on board, I think that's going to help us. Dr. Keating is an expert in this as well. So we're doing some advanced work now, and we'll be getting to those conversations in the next, I'd say, 2 months. And that's just a quick overview, and glad to take any questions now, or glad to go more depth next meeting in August.
Yeah, up to you guys. If we can talk about things now, or we can marinate in this for a while and have conversations amongst ourselves and kick it around in August. Everyone okay with that? Unless, okay, marinate, Hugo says. Done.
Good, marinate. Okay. Now I'm hungry.
Okay, on to our next action item, which is the 2026 Board of Education meeting schedule. Oh, I'm sorry. We actually have to make a motion.
We do.
Yes, okay. Yes. So I'm asking for a motion to approve for first reading the 2026-2027 district goals and objectives. Kate, second. Brendan, all in favor?
No vote.
Oh, no vote. Forget that.
Good.
The vote never happened.
We will vote next meeting after discussion if the board is ready to do so. Thank you.
Okay. Next action item, 2026 Board of Education meeting schedule.
Thank you. And really, this is simply the revision of the schedule that's published on the website. We're here now, so hopefully you approve the change. But it's just because we do publish these calendars, and we like to make sure that that what's on the website has been reviewed by the board. So what we had changed this meeting. Thank you again for agreeing to do so. It was an unexpected circumstance in my life that required us to do so, and I'm grateful. Thank you. It really made a big difference for all of us. So we've done that, and then of course we've canceled the 2 August meetings and added the one on the 24th instead, because that 17th was just not a great time given the calendar and travel schedules for folks and everything going on. So it's really to approve this as presented will get us there.
Okay. So I'm asking for a motion to approve revisions to the Board of Education calendar of meetings for 2026. Matt, second. Raquel, all in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Now that one's easy because it's just the revisions, but the next one is a first read and a second read because it is the 2027 meeting schedule.
Which means no vote.
That's right, but a first and second, correct.
Yep. Okay.
And this one, you have in front of you, these are our meeting dates. It's again, the calendar's a little tricky this next year because Labor Day is on the 7th. So we have a full week it's the 6th. So we have almost a full week in September prior to, getting into it. So you can take a look, we can take a look as we, oh, actually, yeah, there we go. Only one in February, again, because of the February break. We have the budget workshop. Was that January? Yep. In January, we have, well, let's go to, let's see, best is probably July. No, that's, it's hard to do in 2027. So here's the difference. The town and the statute requires us to file the meetings by the end of January for that calendar year. But we always like to have the meetings in place for an entire school year as we're doing this. So the reason we see this as early as we do is because of we have filed with the town now through December of 26, but we want to do this so that we can file with the town and have our entire school year from, now till June of 27. So we did set up, in January, we set up the third meeting with the budget workshop on the Friday at 8 a.m. The one in February. The others, we try to stick with the first and third as best as we can. If you want to accept it as a first reading and then take a look at your calendars and we can make adjustments and discuss in August if we have to make any changes based on folks' schedules, we're happy to do it. And again, like tonight, we can move these down the line if need be. The real difference is that it becomes a special meeting instead of a regular meeting. And the difference really there is simply that at a special meeting, we can't amend the agenda at the meeting. It has to stay with what's published 24 hours in advance because it's a special meeting, which is different than an emergency meeting, which is a very narrow use case that we have not needed to use. And fortunately, the weather has agreed. If it kept raining as it was before, we might have made this had an emergency meeting to talk about the Saks roof. But we'll talk about that in a minute.
Oh, boy. Okay, so I'm asking for a motion to approve for a first reading the Board of Education calendar of meetings for 2027. Josh, second. Hugo, no vote. Yeah, I really need Michelle to put like a stop sign next to this. That would be so helpful. Comments from the public? No? Okay. Announcements and future business.
Yes, so we did have some significant weather today, and we will see some capital items we were planning on anyway, but the Saks roof is certainly one of them. It's a significant item. I'm sure when Scott comes to talk in a month or two, he'll share a little bit about that. But we want to really get moving on that work and some of the other work that we're doing. You saw also, I'm sure, the construction in the front entrance of the high school as you pulled in. That's the relocated guard booth, which is moving from a viewing station to a traffic control station by putting it in the middle there so we can actually have an impact on what's happening instead of just viewing only. So that should be ready by the start of school. The challenge, of course, we have to run the electrical and everything there, but it's long overdue and we're glad to be doing it. There are lots of other projects happening as well, including over at East, the library project, which has been moving right along and is on track and looks great. We had to do a little bit of abatement, and now we are looking the carpet, the painting, and really looking to wrap things up. And it's going to be a wonderful spot for our kids. So very glad to be able to do that. And again, some of the other projects that we're doing around the district. So Scott's moving along with all of what he's doing. And you heard from Darlene tonight about all the hiring that's going on. And again, that's a team effort across the board. I want to say thanks to Bill, thanks to Jill, Melinda. When some of the openings that have come, they've jumped right on it, gotten their committees together, gotten right in there, and really made this happen. So it's great to see, and we are in very good shape as we're moving forward. I mentioned that Dr. Keating's been helping us out. I want to just again say thank you to her for that help, and that to really say thank you to Pat Marinan as well, who is our budget director, who, as you know, has been managing the 27 budget while she's working to close out the 26 budget. And when Joanne Keating reviews everything in front of you and all the finances, all the books, and then says, everything is in great shape, you're doing something right. And the Pat Marinan is doing something right, because that's the way it is. So it's a wonderful feeling. I want to make sure the board knows. As we're looking at our close, we will likely land about where we projected in the beginning, as we got into June, which is somewhere, probably close to around $500,000. That would be unspent in the end. That's what we had projected about a month and a half ago, give or take, and it looks like that's about where we're going to land, although none of that's official until we absolutely know it and lock it down. At our next meeting, we'll have the second readings of things we had first readings of now. We'll be meeting with SLAM in the next couple of days to get an update from them. As you know, they've been developing their educational specifications and doing that work. They've been doing a feasibility study of the site and looking at, trying to collect as much information as we can, both about a new build, whether it's elementary or pre-K or what might be. So after I meet with them, I'll know whether or not they're ready to come and meet with the board on this meeting, or if it would have to be one more out. But I'm hoping for this one, but we'll see. So I'll let the board know once we get there. And there we go.
All right. All good news. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Hugo, second. Brendan, all in favor. Good night, everyone.
Okay, thank you.